CDU Chancellor candidate Friedrich Merz declares victory in federal elections as Scholz's SPD appear on track to have their lowest ever result.
Volodymyr Zelensky said he would be willing to step down as president if it meant peace in Ukraine and NATO membership.
Pope Francis remains in critical condition and has shown early signs of kidney insufficiency as the 88-year-old pontiff battles pneumonia and a complex lung infection.
More than 80% of Germany's almost 60 million eligible voters cast their ballots in Sunday's federal election. Exit polls released shortly after vote counting began indicated that frontrunner CDU candidate Friedrich Merz was on course to win 28.5% of the vote.
Herzlichen Dank für das Vertrauen, das Sie uns und das Sie auch mir persönlich geben. Ich weiß um die Verantwortung. Ich weiß auch um die Dimension der Aufgabe, die jetzt vor uns liegt. Ich begegne dem mit größtem Respekt und ich weiß, dass es nicht einfach werden wird.
The big disappointment of the night was reserved for outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz, whose party, the Social Democrats, secured only 16% of the vote, their lowest ever result in a federal election.
Das ist ein bitteres Wahlergebnis für die Sozialdemokratische Partei. Das ist auch eine Wahlniederlage. Das, finde ich, muss bei dem Ergebnis einmal am Anfang klar und deutlich gesagt werden. Und für mich ist auch ganz wichtig zu sagen, das ist ein Ergebnis, aus dem wir gemeinsam nach vorne gehen müssen.
Far-right AfD candidate Alice Weidel is on course to win just over 20% of the vote, making significant gains and doubling their results from the last election in 2021.
Wir haben uns verdoppelt, man wollte uns halbieren, das Gegenteil ist eingetreten und ich muss eins sagen, unsere Hand wird immer ausgestreckt sein für eine Regierungsbeteiligung, den Willen des Volkes, den Willen Deutschlands umzusetzen. Wir sind bereit für eine Regierungsbeteiligung.
Friedrich Merz will be given the mandate to govern when official results are announced. Over the coming days and weeks, the CDU-CSU union candidate will engage in talks with other parties to establish a coalition and lead a new government.
Speed matters, because that's maybe now the biggest task. And I did some things for myself. It's a possibility that it's possible for the CDU-CSU to have a coalition with only the Social Democrats. If the Bündnis Sarah Wagenknecht will not enter the parliament, it's maybe enough to have 29 and 16% to get the majority of the seats in the parliament. And that could be the fundament of a quick coalition.
George Papandreou.
I would say speed too, but at the same time do it in a strategic way for Europe. We are facing major challenges and the issues of our European existence are on the table. This is it is necessary to really think about how Europe is going to be moving forward. So yes, a government in Germany, but this also has to mean the big issues that we really have to deal with in changing Europe for the better, more unified, more strong, and more confident.
This is a very paradoxical election because at once it is more or less business as usual in the sense that we're going to have a change of chancellor, but more or less the same quasi-permanent coalition of Christian Democrats, Social Democrats with the splattering of the Greens, the same coalition that, in my estimation, in my judgment, put Germany on a long road towards stagnation for the last 15, 20 years. Our European leaders, including your guest, resemble headless chickens running around in panic, in total and utter disarray. That was the inevitable outcome of 15, 20 years of paying lip service to solidarity when all they were doing was imposing harsh austerity on the peoples of Europe.
One thing is absolutely certain. There are mistakes made in Europe, for sure. But it's also clear that this political project is a project that is giving more prosperity, more social cohesion to our people. But it doesn't mean that everything is perfect, not at all. And it means that today, and we made this point several times tonight, today, again, we need to make clear choices. We need to make clear decisions on the future. And again, I'm absolutely convinced on my side that economic development, industrial base, indeed, less regulation, a better regulation, this is the choice we have to make. And certain element, if we want not only to be a playground for others, but if we want to be master of our European destiny in the future, we need to invest much more in defense, in security, and we need to make it together.
Well, don't let the music in the background deceive you. This has been a disappointing night for the Greens that wouldn't warrant a big party. There are 3 key takeaways from this election for the Greens, and all of them are quite painful. The first one is the result that they themselves have got. The polls predicted them to get between 10 to 14% of the vote share. They have landed at just under 13%, so a disappointing evening for them personally. And then the second takeaway is that this result doesn't put them in a good position to be part of Germany's next government. Neither in a possible Kenya coalition between 3 parties, between the SPD, the CDU and the Greens, or in a possible 2-way coalition with the CDU, which is now almost mathematically impossible. And the third key takeaway is that they have lost significant support, significant shares of voters to the left, to Die Linke, which have run a very successful social media campaign over the closing days of the campaign season. And now the most pressing question going forward for the Greens is going to be, what can they do to get their core share of voters, to get young voters back on track and back into their camp?
Speaking on the eve of the 3rd anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky said he would be willing to step down if it meant peace and NATO membership. He also called for further security guarantees from both Europe and the US. Several top European and international leaders, including President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, will commemorate 3 years of war in Kyiv on Monday. When asked by Euronews' Sasha Vakulina which decisions would be made during this visit, the Ukrainian leader did not give away any details, but said he was adamant over certain decisions to be made regarding support for the country.
Я зосереджуюсь на пакетах підтримки, і там конкретні речі, конкретні суми, конкретна зброя, конкретні санкції проти Росії.
French President Emmanuel Macron, UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, on the other hand, will have separate meetings at the White House to put Europe back at the center of Ukraine's peace talks. Zelensky admitted that Ukraine may be forced to sign an economic agreement with the US if it would ensure continued aid for the country, but said he would not sign a deal that will be paid off by 10 generations of Ukrainians.
Authorities in Ukraine say Russia attacked the country on Saturday night with a barrage of drones that President Zelensky called the single biggest assault since Moscow's invasion began almost 3 years ago. A record 267 Russian drones were launched, according to Ukraine's Air Force Command. Emergency services reported destruction in several regions overnight.
Повиходили, всі цілі, діти цілі. Почали роздивлятись руйнування. Вікна, дах, автівки.
The strikes came on the eve of the 3rd anniversary of the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said it was the largest drone attack on the country since Russia began using Iranian-made drones.
Pope Francis remains in critical condition and has shown signs of early kidney failure, said the Vatican on Monday. The 88-year-old pontiff is battling pneumonia and a complex lung infection, but remains alert and was able to attend Mass on Sunday. In their latest update, the Vatican said Francis hadn't had any more respiratory crises since Saturday night, but was still receiving high flows of supplemental oxygen. Some blood tests showed initial mild kidney failure, but doctors said it was under control. They said Francis's condition is touch and go, given his age, fragility and pre-existing lung disease, and that the main threat facing the Pope is sepsis, a serious infection of the blood that can occur as a complication of pneumonia. Meanwhile, prayers for Francis poured in from around the world over the weekend, from his native Argentina to school children in Rome.
French President Emmanuel Macron is heading to the White House on Monday for a crucial meeting to try to put Europe back at the center of the high-stakes Ukraine peace negotiations held bilaterally between the US and Russia. This meeting comes as European leaders are trying to come up with a united response to the lightning rapprochement between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. So what's Macron's plan exactly? Well, during a live Q&A on his social media, Macron said that he will try to convince Trump on Monday that pandering to Putin's demands will only make him seem weak. But this won't be an easy feat. On Friday, Donald Trump slammed both Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, baselessly claiming that both leaders haven't done anything to end the war. Macron will be the second European leader to go to the White House since Trump's inauguration, after Polish President Duda's meeting with Trump on Saturday. But the diplomatic ballet is far from over, with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer set to meet with Trump on Thursday in order to try to shore up support for Ukraine.